Imagine this. You're just stuck, trapped in an absolutely endless traffic jam. You're already running late for something important. Or maybe you've been looking forward to this big trip, an international flight, and poof, cancel. Just like that.
Right.
All your plans just up in smoke.
Right. Total chaos.
Or maybe it's something, deeper hitting home, like a sudden illness diagnosis, and you feel completely powerless.
Yeah, those moments where control just seems to evaporate.
Exactly, those gut-wrenching moments. Modern life just throws these curveballs, and you feel that massive surge of frustration over things that are just completely maddeningly beyond your grasp. We've all been there, right?
Definitely.
Well, today we're diving deep. This is a really crucial one. We're tackling the third and final Stoic discipline, the discipline of will.
And this isn't just like an add-on. Epictetus, who's really one of the heavy hitters here,
Right.
he saw this as the absolute pinnacle, the crowning achievement of Stoic practice, the ultimate test, really.
So our mission today is to really unpack this. How can we actually cultivate that unshakable inner strength? How do we build what we're calling this unbreachable inner fortress?
Sanctuary inside.
Yes. A sanctuary so strong that no external event, doesn't matter how chaotic, how devastating, can actually penetrate its walls. It's all about governing our attitude, you see. Our attitude towards all those things we just can't control.
From the small stuff
Like that traffic jam, yeah.
to the really big life-altering things.
Right.
Sickness, loss.
Even our own mortality. It covers everything outside our direct command.
And what's so compelling, I think, is how these ancient thinkers, especially Epictetus, they weren't just philosophizing in an ivory tower.
No.
They laid down practical, actionable frameworks for achieving this inner freedom. We'll be digging deep into Epictetus's discourses and handbook, of
You
course.
can avoid those.
And Seneca's essays and letters are incredibly powerful, plus Marcus Aurelius's meditations.
A big three.
But what makes this particularly interesting, I think, is how these timeless ideas echo really powerfully in modern thought, especially when people face the absolute worst circumstances imaginable.
You heard from Frankl.
Exactly. We'll explore these incredible echoes of Stoic will in Viktor Frankl's work. The psychiatrist, Holocaust survivor, founder of logotherapy.
His insights.
Yeah.
They're just harrowing, but also incredibly inspiring. A real-world validation of this ancient philosophy, right?
Absolutely. It puts it to the ultimate test.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this isn't just us, rambling about history. This deep dive is really designed for you listening.
Yeah.
It's about getting that knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly, giving you those aha moments, hopefully, equipping you with practical, usable wisdom for navigating what often feels like a really overwhelming world. We want to help you build that personal resilience, so you're not just being jerked around by outside events, and crucially, so other people can't just push your emotional buttons whenever they feel like it.
It's about reclaiming that inner control.
Exactly. Consider this your shortcut, not just to being well-informed, but hopefully genuinely well-fortified. Okay, let's start right at the bedrock, because this is where it really comes alive, I think. Epictetus, he gives us this foundational tool right out of the gate with, striking clarity.
The dichotomy of control.
Yeah, or sometimes people call it the Stoic fork, right?
What's the one?
And it sounds simple, maybe deceptively so, but the implications are huge. It's just this. Some things are up to us. They're directly, entirely under our control, and others are not up to us.
Meaning they're external, outside our direct influence.
Totally. And the moment you really get that distinction, truly internalize it.
Yeah.
It helps you see where good and bad actually reside.
Which can shift your whole perspective.
Completely. So let's dig into that up to us part first. What did Epictetus actually mean?
Well, he pointed to this concept he called prohairesis. It's a Greek term, a bit tricky to translate perfectly.
Right. Volition, choice.
Volition, choice, moral purpose. Those are common translations. For Epictetus, this was, and I quote loosely here, the most noteworthy feature of his entire philosophy. It wasn't just about making a decision, like choosing coffee over tea.
Okay.
It's the very essence of the self. Your prohairesis is your core mental faculty. It includes your consciousness, your character, your judgments, your goals, your desires, even what you try to avoid.
So it's like your inner command center.
In a way, yes. It's fundamentally where one's interests lie. It's the active power of your rational soul. And Epictetus was adamant about this. The mind has this innate capacity for complete autonomy. self-government.
He said it's completely in our power, up to us within the control of our will.
Exactly. And this ties into the broader Stoic idea that the human mind is fundamentally rational. Our actions, our moral character, they stem from the choices we make from this rational core.
Is that different from how someone like Aristotle saw it?
It's a subtle but important difference, yeah. Aristotle also had a concept of prohairesis, linking choice to practical reason. But Epictetus really elevated it. For him, it was the sole realm of our ultimate freedom, our absolute inner sanctuary. Nothing else truly belongs to us in the same way.
Okay, that makes sense. So if prohairesis is our inner will, our judgments is what's up to us. What falls into the not up to us bucket?
Well, pretty much everything else.
Huh, right. The lust is huge.
It really is. It covers the vast majority of things we spend our lives chasing or worrying about.
Like our bodies, health, aging.
Yep, our physical bodies, how healthy we are, how we look, getting sick, aging, all that. Also, our possessions, whether we gain them, lose them, keep them.
Our reputation, what people think of us.
Definitely. What others think, how they perceive us. Worldly success, too. Promotions, money, status.
And the big ones, illness, aging, death itself.
Absolutely. All firmly in the not up to us category. And Epictetus was really unyielding on this point.
He said, if your happiness depends on these external things,
it becomes extremely vulnerable to forces out of your control. You've basically handed over the keys to your inner peace.
Yeah, you're letting fate or other people's opinions or just biology dictate your well-being.
Exactly. It's like building your house on sand.
So this brings us to that Stoic idea of indifference, doesn't it? How does that connect?
Perfectly. The Stoics classify all these external things, health, wealth, reputation, even life and death, as indifferent.
Now, that sounds cold. Doesn't mean they just don't care.
Not at all. That's a common misunderstanding. They're indifferent not because they lack any practical value. Of course, we generally prefer health to sickness or having enough money to being destitute.
Okay.
They're indifferent because they are not up to us and, crucially, have no bearing on our moral character, our virtue, our ultimate good.
Ah, so the good and bad only apply to our choices, our prohairesis.
Precisely. True good lies only in our own actions, our virtues. True bad lies only in our vices, our faulty judgments. The external event itself, neutral.
It's our judgment about the event that makes it seem good or bad to us.
You've got it. Its impact on us, its moral weight, is determined entirely by how we choose to interpret it, how we assent to that initial impression. This isn't about apathy. It's about accurately locating value.
And this, according to the Stoics, is where most of our suffering comes from, right? Confusing these two categories.
Absolutely. They saw it as fundamentally irrational, even contradictory.
How so?
Well, think about it. To believe you must get that promotion, or you must avoid getting sick, when ultimately those things aren't fully in your control.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for a fall.
Epictetus called it a contradiction to believe both that you must do something and also that it's not within your power to do so. That internal clash, that wrestling match with reality.
That's where the anxiety, the frustration, the despair comes from.
Exactly. It's like trying to command the wind or the waves. You're just going to end up exhausted and disappointed.
So for you listening right now, maybe think about this. The next time something really gets under your skin, causes you distress, could be small, could be big, how quickly can you just pause and ask, okay, wait, is it up to me or not up to me?
That pause is critical.
And what might happen if you consciously, deliberately shifted your focus away from the external thing you can't control and onto your own internal response, your judgment, your attitude, which you can control.
It's not just theory. It's a practical tool, a daily practice, really.
And it can fundamentally change your immediate reaction, can't it?
It absolutely can. It's the first line of defense for that inner fortress.
Okay, let's be really clear here. Life is unpredictable. Bad things happen. Sometimes terrible things happen.
It's just part of the deal, part of being human.
Right. And knowing about the dichotomy of control, as powerful as it is, well, it doesn't magically erase the pain when you get a serious diagnosis, does it?
No. Or the grief when you lose someone you love. The initial blow still lands.
The world can still feel harsh, hostile, just plain cruel sometimes. So how do we deal with that? How do we build the fortress walls higher?
This is where Seneca, I think, offers a really potent perspective. Maybe even a bit counterintuitive at first.
His life certainly tested him.
Oh, absolutely. He faced immense adversity, lost his son, suffered a long, unjust exile, and then ultimately was forced by Emperor Nero to commit suicide. He knew hardship intimately.
So what was his take?
He proposed seeing misfortune not just as something to grit your teeth and endure, but as something potentially beneficial.
Beneficial? How?
He used this great analogy of a wrestler. A really tough opponent doesn't just test your skill, they prove it. And more than that, they build it. They force you to get stronger.
Ah, okay. Adversity is training.
Exactly. Seneca argued that adversity lets us display our virtues and it trains them so that we can improve. He even said, everlasting misfortune does have one blessing, that it ends up by toughening those whom it constantly afflicts.
So it's not just passive acceptance, it's an active reframing.
Very active, almost welcoming misfortune as this invaluable opportunity for growth, for testing your character, refining your virtues, rather than just complaining about it.
See the obstacle as the way, almost.
Precisely. See the challenge as the very thing that reveals and builds your strength. Don't just endure it, use it.
That's quite a powerful mindset shift. How does that compare to Epictetus? Did he see it the same way?
It's slightly different in emphasis, I'd say. Epictetus often leaned more towards advising minimal attention to such events.
Right. Keep the focus inward on your judgments.
Exactly. Redirect your focus internally away from the external storm. Seneca seems to encourage more active grappling, almost embracing the storm as a sparring partner.
Interesting contrast. But both paths lead towards the same goal, right? That unshakable inner strength.
Absolutely. Different tactics, same strategic objective, fortifying the inner self.
But how do we actually prepare for these storms? We know they're coming, eventually. Is there a way to train beforehand?
There is. The Stoics had this remarkable technique. It sounds a bit gloomy at first, maybe. They called it negative visualization, or, in Latin, premeditatio malorum.
Premeditation of evils. Sounds ominous.
It does, but it's incredibly practical. The idea is, before you start something, could be a project, a trip, even just heading out for the day, you consciously ask yourself, what could potentially go wrong here? What obstacles might pop up? Where could I face difficulties?
Okay. Why do that? Isn't that just borrowing trouble?
Not at all, according to the Stoics. This isn't about dwelling on the negative or trying to make bad things happen. It's the opposite. It's emotional resilience training.
Ah, like mental weightlifting for hardship.
Exactly. You prepare your mind beforehand when things are good so that you'll be ready when things turn bad.
So it softens the blow when things actually do go wrong.
Precisely. The psychological insight here is that devastation, that feeling of being absolutely crushed and shocked by something, is often directly related to how unlikely we considered that event in the first place.
Because it catches us completely off guard.
Right. By consciously, briefly contemplating potential setbacks, you strip them of their shock value. You achieve greater tranquility when reality inevitably deviates from your ideal plan.
Can you give an example? How would that work practically?
Sure. Let's say you're planning that dream vacation.
Yeah.
Instead of only picturing perfect sunshine and smooth sailing,
Which is tempting.
very tempting, you take maybe 60 seconds to think, okay, what if the flight's delayed for hours? What if the hotel lost my booking? What if I get sick?
Right.
Again, you don't dwell on it or panic. You just briefly consider it and maybe even think of a potential response. Okay, I'll pack a book and snacks for a delay. I'll have the booking confirmation printed out and on my phone. I'll know where the local clinic is.
So you've already mentally rehearsed a response.
Exactly. So if it does happen, the emotional impact is significantly lessened. You're not blindsided. You think, yes, I considered this might happen. Okay, plan B.
It's less about predicting every single possible future.
Much less. It's more about cultivating a mindset, a psychological readiness, where any outcome can be met without that inner collapse, building a mental buffer zone.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, probably the toughest area for this discipline, for building that fortress, is dealing with mortality, isn't it?
Unquestionably. Death our own, or losing people we love, is definitively, absolutely not up to us. It's the ultimate external.
And Epictetus.
Yeah.
He didn't pull any punches on this, did he?
Not at all. He could be brutally direct. He says things like, you are a fool to want your children, wife, or friends to be immortal.
Wow. Stark.
It is. He constantly reminds us that everything and everyone we cherish is merely on loan from the universe, from nature. Our attachment is natural, but clinging to the idea of permanence is where suffering arises.
He also said death itself isn't terrible.
Right. Death is nothing terrible, for if it were, Socrates would have thought it so. He points to wise figures who faced their end with calm acceptance.
So the belief that death is terrible is the problem, not death itself.
Exactly. It's our judgment about death, which crucially is up to us. We can choose to reframe that judgment.
How did Seneca approach grief and loss?
Very similarly, in essence, he observed that grief hits people so hard primarily because They don't anticipate it.
We know intellectually everyone dies, but we don't really live like we know it applies to us and our loved ones.
Precisely. We hear about death constantly, but we rarely pause to truly internalize its inevitability for us right now and for those closest to us. Seneca urges us to confront this directly.
Face the vulnerability.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are all vulnerable. Loved ones will eventually die. Prosperity, health, they can vanish in an instant. Confronting this isn't meant to be morbid. He saw it as a path to wisdom.
And Marcus Aurelius. How did the emperor reflect on this?
Marcus often reflected on the grand sweep of things. He noted how death and life, glory and reproach, pain and pleasure, riches and poverty, all these happen promiscuously to the good and bad.
They just happen. Part of the natural order.
Right. And because they happen to everyone, regardless of virtue, and because they aren't choices stemming from our own will, he concluded they are neither honorable nor shameful. They are therefore neither good nor evil.
Their indifference again.
Exactly. Just part of the universal process of change in the cosmos. He constantly reminded himself how swiftly all things vanish, how brief our own time is, soon vanished in eternity.
That cosmic perspective can be humbling.
It is. And again, the goal isn't depression or nihilism. It's freedom. Freedom from undue anxiety about what we simply cannot prevent.
So what's the synthesis here? What does this all mean for building the fortress?
It means that actively confronting the fragility of life, the impermanence of everything, including ourselves, isn't about being gloomy.
It's actually a catalyst.
A powerful one. It allows us to truly appreciate what we have right now, to invest fully in the present moment, in our relationships, in virtuous action.
And crucially, to prepare our inner selves, our judgments, our will for what is an undeniable, unchangeable reality.
So that when loss comes, as it must, while there will be natural grief, that initial first movement,
Right.
it doesn't shatter our core, our inner peace, our prohairesis remains intact, because that is within our control. That's the fortress holding firm. Okay, so if we want to really master this inner landscape, fortify our will, we absolutely have to grasp the Stoic view on emotions. It's pivotal.
Right, because they didn't see emotions quite like we might today.
Exactly. For them, having an emotion wasn't quite the same as just having a physical feeling, like, a headache or feeling cold.
It's more cognitive.
Precisely. Emotions are fundamentally the product of a judgment made in the mind.
Okay, unpack that. How does it work?
It starts with what they call an impression. That's just a mere thought. Something pops into your head, an observation, a memory, an idea. It registers, but you haven't necessarily bought into it yet.
Like seeing storm clouds and thinking it might rain.
Perfect example. Now, what turns that simple thought, that impression, into a full-blown belief, and then potentially into an emotion like fear or anxiety about the rain, is assent.
Assent, meaning you agree with the impression, you judge it to be true.
Yes, it's that conscious act of judgment forming an opinion. It is going to rain, and that's terrible because my picnic will be ruined. That's assent leading to distress.
Oh, I see.
And the crucial difference, the Stoics argued, between a wise person, a sage, and an ordinary person lies right there in the quality and rationality of their assent.
How so?
The ordinary mind, untrained, undisciplined, is often, as one scholar put it, a pushover. It just yields easily to impressions without examining them.
Believes every thought that pops into its head almost.
Right, whereas the wise person, through constant practice, pauses. They resist that automatic assent. They examine the impression. Is this true? Is it helpful? Is this up to me? And often they reject it or reframe it.
So the goal isn't to stop thoughts from appearing.
Impossible anyway.
Right, but to control our judgment about those thoughts. And the ultimate aim is, what? To replace bad emotions with good ones.
Exactly. It's not about suppression in the long run. It's about ensuring that unhealthy, irrational emotions like excessive fear, anger, envy are actively replaced by healthy, rational ones.
This is really important because it tackles that big misconception about Stoics being emotionless robots, right?
Absolutely. That stereotype of the unfeeling block of stone, it's just wrong. The Stoics never aimed for that.
They acknowledge things like shock or crying.
Yes. They recognized what Seneca called first movements. Those are the natural, involuntary physiological reactions we all have.
Like jumping when you hear a loud noise.
Exactly. Or that initial surge of nervousness before public speaking. Or even shedding tears at a funeral or watching a moving film. These first movements happen before conscious judgment.
So they aren't emotions in the full Stoic sense.
Correct, because they're automatic, involuntary bodily responses, like a reflex. For these initial reactions to become what the Stoics called emotions proper, the mind has to step in.
It has to judge that something genuinely bad or terrible has happened.
And then act on that judgment, or at least feel the impulse to act. So fear, for instance, isn't just the initial jolt of adrenaline. The full emotion of fear, for a Stoic, involves flight, the judgment that danger is present, and the impulse to escape.
And anger.
Anger, similarly, isn't just feeling hot under the collar. The full emotion involves assault, the judgment that you've been wronged, and the impulse to retaliate or attack. It's the assent and the resulting impulse that define the emotion proper.
Okay, that distinction is crucial. And it leads us right to Seneca's views on anger, doesn't it? He had strong feelings about that one.
Oh, incredibly strong. He saw anger as nothing less than a disease of the body characterized by swelling, a kind of temporary madness.
A disease. Wow.
Yeah. He observed how once that initial judgment is made, this person slighted me, or this is unfair, anger quickly takes over physically. Your heart races, you feel hot, your fists might clench.
We've all felt that.
Right. And he argued passionately against the common idea, even back then, that maybe a little bit of anger could be useful, to motivate you or to help you stand up for yourself.
He didn't buy that.
Not for a second. Seneca believed once people get angry at all, there is no turning back. He said it's like falling off a cliff.
No moderation possible.
He compared it to letting an enemy army into your city gates, thinking you can just control a small part of them. Once they're in, they take over. Anger, once assented to, takes over reason.
So what's the alternative? Just let people walk all over you?
No, not at all. Seneca argued it's always better to act calmly. Act from a sense of loyalty or duty or a clear-eyed pursuit of justice, not from rage-seeking revenge.
Those provide a more stable, rational foundation for action.
Exactly. More effective in the long run, too, less likely to cause regrettable harm.
Okay, so if we're aiming to replace these destructive emotions, what's the ultimate goal? What's the positive state we're aiming for?
The goal is often described as apatheia, which literally translates to something like without passion or impassivity.
Which again sounds cold.
It does, but it's crucial to understand it correctly. It means the absence of irrational, unhealthy emotions, the fati. It does not mean the absence of all feeling or a state of indifferent detachment.
So it's not about feeling nothing.
Definitely not. The Stoics explicitly believed these unhealthy emotions should be actively replaced by what they called eupathii, literally good emotions or healthy emotions.
Like what? What are these good emotions?
Things like rational joy or cheerfulness, stemming from virtuous actions and correct judgments. Rational confidence, based on understanding what's truly in your control. And even a rational form of caution.
Caution instead of fear.
Yes. A withdrawing which is in accordance with reason as opposed to irrational fear or panic. It's about cultivating a stable, vibrant, but fundamentally rational emotional life, one that supports your peace and virtue rather than undermining it.
Okay, that paints a much richer picture than the stereotype. But the obvious question then is, how? How do we actually get there? How do we cultivate these eupathii?
Well, it's not a quick fix. It's a continuous, deliberate process. It involves constantly training the mind.
Training it to do what?
To consistently apply our natural preconceptions about value, what's truly good, virtue, and bad, vice, to every specific situation we encounter, always judging in accordance with nature and reason.
And constantly practicing that dichotomy of control.
Fundamentally, honing that ability moment by moment to distinguish what is genuinely up to us from what is not. It's an ongoing mental, even spiritual discipline. A practice for life.
And the core tool we have for this?
Epictetus hammers this home. It's our reasoning faculty. He calls it the only faculty we have inherited that can perceive itself, what it is capable of, and how valuable it is, and also perceive all the rest.
It's the thing that can understand itself and everything else.
And crucially, he believed we have been given essentially unrestricted control over this faculty. It's our most precious possession, our primary tool for self-governance, for building and maintaining that fortress.
So the big takeaway here is profound, really. Your inner fortress isn't built with external bricks like success or luck.
No.
It's built, judgment by judgment, on the foundation of your own reason. It's about consciously examining every single impression, every thought.
And giving your assent only to those that align with virtue, with rationality, with reality.
Instead of just blindly reacting to whatever pops up or whatever happens outside.
Exactly. It's about taking complete radical responsibility for that inner landscape. For the judgments you make, that's where your power lies.
Okay, let's broaden the view a bit now. Beyond just our individual minds, the Stoics talked a lot about living in harmony with nature. What do they mean by that?
It's a really central concept, and it has two key layers, you could say.
Two layers.
Yeah. First, there's harmony with the external natural world nature with a capital N. The cosmos, the universe, its laws, its processes, its overall order.
Accepting the way things are on a grand scale.
Pretty much. Understanding and accepting our place within that larger order. But second, and just as important, is harmony with our own human nature.
What did they see as fundamental human nature?
Well, their view was actually remarkably optimistic, especially compared to some later or even some modern views.
How so?
They fundamentally believe that humans are, by nature, rational and social creatures. Epictetus suggested that, left to their own devices, assuming a reasonably healthy upbringing, humans will naturally mature into rational, virtuous adults.
So we're inherently geared towards reason and cooperation.
That was the Stoic view. We are by nature reasonable and decent social animals. So when we feel unhappy, when that inner fortress feels shaky, it's often a sign that we're living out of sync with these deep natural inclinations, acting irrationally or antisocially.
That's interesting. How does this connect to the idea of fate? You mentioned that earlier.
It connects very deeply. For the Stoics, the universe, nature with a capital N, is governed by fate. But they didn't mean random chance or arbitrary destiny.
What do they mean?
They understood fate as a vast, unbroken chain of cause and effect. Everything that happens is the result of prior causes, stretching back indefinitely. It's a rational, ordered system, even if we can't see all the connections.
So everything is determined.
In a sense, yes. Accepting this causal determinism is absolutely vital for inner peace. It means understanding that events, especially things that have already happened, literally couldn't have turned out any other way.
Wow. That's a big one to swallow.
It is. But think about the implications. If you truly accept that the past could not have been different, what happens to regret? What happens to endlessly replaying what-ifs in your head?
Disappears. Or at least loses its sting.
Exactly. That mental energy, often wasted on fighting with reality, is liberated. This isn't about being passive or fatalistic about the future. Your choices now still matter. But it's about aligning your will with the reality of the past and present.
Accepting what is.
Yes. Understanding that your real sphere of influence is the present moment, and specifically your response, your judgment, your action to whatever unfolds according to that causal chain. This deep acceptance is a cornerstone of the inner fortress. It stops you from battering yourself against the walls of unchangeable reality.
Okay. Within this harmonious, fated view, what about our place in society? You said we're naturally social animals.
Right. And Epictetus really emphasized this. He pointed out that each of us lives within a number of different social roles simultaneously.
Can you give examples?
Sure. Think about your own life. Right now, you might be someone's child, maybe a parent, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor, an employee or employer, a citizen.
We all wear multiple hats?
Exactly. And these aren't just labels. For the Stoics, these roles come with inherent duties and responsibilities attached. Living a good life, a virtuous life, means living up to the various roles that we find ourselves in and accepting the responsibilities that come with them.
So it's about acting appropriately for the role.
Yes. What does it mean to be a good parent, from a Stoic view? It means exercising virtues like patience, justice, wisdom in your interactions with your child. Making choices within that role that are rational and align with nature.
Focusing on what's up to you within that role, your actions, your intentions.
Precisely. Diligently fulfilling the obligations that naturally arise from our positions in the human community, because our nature is social.
Did other Stoics talk about this social dimension?
Oh, yes. Seneca expanded on this beautifully with his idea of the two commonwealths or two cities.
Two cities?
Yeah. First, he said there's the local community, the one to which we have been assigned by the accident of birth, your city, your country. We have duties there, of course.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second one?
The second is a vast and truly common state which embraces alike gods and men. This is the cosmos, the universal city, encompassing all of humanity, perhaps even all rational beings.
Cosmopolitanism, the idea that we're citizens of the world.
Exactly. Seneca argued we have responsibilities to both commonwealths. And crucially, our membership in the universal city implies a duty of care to all humankind that transcends local customs and laws.
So our ethics shouldn't stop at our borders.
Definitely not. While we should be loyal and contribute to our local communities, our fundamental ethical obligations, justice, compassion, goodwill, extend to everyone, simply because they are fellow, rational, social beings. It's a very broad, inclusive vision.
That really expands the scope of our inner fortress to include our connections outwards.
It does. It gives our will a much wider, more meaningful field for virtuous action.
Now, you mentioned gods and men in Seneca's quote. This brings us to the divine aspect in Stoicism, which can sometimes be confusing. How does God fit into this picture?
It's a really important part, especially for someone like Epictetus. He often spoke of God, or Zeus, not as some distant abstract principle, but as the caring father of human beings.
A personal God.
It certainly sounds that way in many passages. He spoke with real fervor about God as the benevolent creator and governor of the world. He encouraged his students to look to God as their benevolent creator and friend, to do God's will, to be thankful to God, and to please him.
So living in harmony with nature also meant living in harmony with God's will.
For Epictetus, yes. Conformity to God and imitation of God were central aims. He even taught that God has given a portion of himself to each person, our reasoning faculty, our prohairesis, and because of this divine spark within us, our status is correspondingly exalted.
That's quite a profound idea. We contain a fragment of the divine.
That's the implication. And this isn't just, abstract theology floating off somewhere. It's deeply practical.
That's
It provides a powerful spiritual foundation for the discipline of will. If you see yourself as part of a rational, divinely ordered cosmos, and you contain a spark of that divine reason,
It helps you accept what happens.
it helps you accept what's outside your control, seeing it as part of God's plan, or the rational unfolding of fate with a much deeper sense of purpose and trust. It informs your will, guiding you to act virtuously within that larger, meaningful design. It reinforces the idea that your inner core, that divine spark, is untouchable by external events. Building right on that idea of our place in this grand, ordered cosmos, Seneca brings us crashing back down to earth with a really stark warning, and it sounds incredibly modern.
What's a warning?
He warns against living in a perpetual state of distraction. Even in ancient Rome, he saw people dealing with constant noise, interruption, news, media things, constantly grabbing for their attention.
This is familiar, maybe even worse now with smartphones and endless notification.
Uncannily similar, isn't it? He had this famous line, living is the least important activity of the preoccupied man.
Wow, what did he mean by that?
He meant that people who are constantly busy, constantly scattering their focus, rushing from one thing to the next without real purpose, they're effectively taken up with doing nothing of real substance.
They're busy, but not truly living.
Exactly. This constant busyness, this superficial engagement with 1,000 things, leads to this deep inner restlessness, an inability to relax or to concentrate on anything meaningful.
And the consequence?
Tragically, he observed, these people often realize the value of life only when it is almost over. They spend their whole lives about to live, always planning for some future moment when they'll finally have time, but never actually being present in the life they have right now.
Deferring life indefinitely.
Yeah. He even said that our ability to foresee the future, which should be a blessing, often becomes a curse because it keeps us trapped in hope and fear about what might happen, preventing us from engaging with what is happening.
That's a powerful critique of busyness. So what's the Stoic antidote?
It leads directly to another core Stoic motivation. Using the awareness of our own mortality not as a source of dread, but as a powerful catalyst for living well now.
Memento mori, remember death.
Precisely. Seneca urged us, quite radically, to plan each day as if it were potentially our last.
He actually said that.
He challenged his readers. Imagine for a moment if today really were your last day. We bet you would spend it very differently.
You'd focus on what truly matters, presumably, not trivial stuff.
Exactly. You'd prioritize meaningful connections, virtuous actions, appreciating the present. And since we genuinely don't know which day will be our last,
The logical thing is to approach every day with that same sense of urgency and clarity.
that's the Stoic imperative. The task, Seneca says, is not to strive to make our lives last as long as possible. Instead, we ought simply to make sure that we enjoy and make full use of each day as it comes.
Quality over quantity. Make every moment count. Invest fully right now.
That's the essence of it.
Did Marcus Aurelius touch on this theme of time's swift passage?
Oh, constantly. It's a recurring theme in his meditations. He often reflects on how swiftly all things vanish.
Like smoke.
Yeah. How the corporeal forms are swallowed up in the material world and the memory of them in the tide of ages. He frequently muses on how our own allotted lifespan is utterly tiny, just a blip, soon vanished in eternity.
Does he find that depressing?
I don't think so. He sometimes imagines looking down on the earth from a great height, seeing all human affairs as minuscule, fleeting dramas. The purpose isn't despair, it's perspective.
To strip away the ego, the self-importance.
Exactly. To sharpen our focus on what truly matters within that brief span. To concentrate on our own duties, our own virtue, our inner state, rather than getting lost in fleeting external concerns. It's a call to profound present moment awareness and right action.
So the implication here is pretty transformative, isn't it? It's about taking full conscious ownership of how we use our time, our finite, precious time.
Yes, radical responsibility for our attention and our actions.
And the inner fortress. It's not just a bunker to hide in during storms.
Not at all.
It's also about making sure you're actually living meaningfully within those walls, being fully present, fully engaged.
Rather than constantly being pulled away by distractions or deferring your life until someday.
It's a call to live with intensity, with purpose, right here, right now.
That's the urgency the Stoics felt.
Okay, let's jump forward now. Fast forward quite dramatically to the 20th century. Because there's a figure whose life and work offer this incredibly powerful, almost unbelievably profound, real-world testament to this discipline of will we've been discussing.
Now, you must be talking about Viktor Frankl.
Exactly, Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist, neurologist, and, crucially, a survivor of the Holocaust.
His experiences were just unimaginable.
Right. He endured several Nazi concentration camps, including Theresienstadt and Auschwitz. And out of that crucible, he developed logotherapy.
Which is a school of psychotherapy focused on finding meaning, right?
Precisely. It emphasizes finding meaning in life, even perhaps especially when facing intense suffering. His work demonstrates in the most extreme way possible how individuals can maintain their inner will, their moral core, under conditions designed to utterly crush the human spirit.
And what's so striking, connecting back to our discussion, is how Frankl's direct observations from inside the camps. They tragically, yet powerfully, illustrate these very Stoic principles we've been talking about, especially internal freedom.
How so? What did he observe?
Well, he witnessed firsthand that prisoners who essentially gave up internally those who let their minds release their moral and spiritual values, as he put it.
Those who, in Stoic terms, maybe abandoned their prohairesis, their inner judgment.
Exactly. Those individuals tended to succumb much faster. They became dehumanized, lost the will to live, and often died quicker, even if their physical circumstances weren't immediately worse than others.
That's chilling.
It is. Conversely, he saw that those who, despite everything, managed to cling to some sense of purpose, however small, maybe a memory of a loved one, a hope for the future, even appreciating a sunset.
They had a better chance.
They were far more likely to survive and, perhaps more importantly, to retain their inner humanity, their sense of self. Frankl meticulously documented the psychological stages prisoners went through: initial shock, then apathy.
But he concluded it wasn't just about the external horrors.
That's the crucial point. He concluded that the ultimate state of a prisoner's mind, their ability to endure or not, wasn't solely determined by the psychophysical conditions. It ultimately came down to what he called a free decision.
A free decision, even in Auschwitz.
Yes. The decision to maintain their inner values, to choose their attitude towards their suffering, to hold on to a sense of purpose. This, he argued, was the last, inviolable freedom that could not be taken away.
That's incredibly powerful. It resonates so strongly with Epictetus saying, our will, our judgment is the only thing truly up to us.
It's almost a direct, horrific validation of that core Stoic idea. Frankl realized through this experience just how important meaning can be for human survival.
And this meaning wasn't something you just invented.
No, that's key to logotherapy. Meaning isn't just created subjectively from within, like wishful thinking. Frankl believed it's discovered in the world.
Discovered how?
Through engagement, through dedicating yourself to a cause, through creating something, through loving someone, or even through the attitude you choose to take towards unavoidable suffering. That attitude, freely chosen, is what provides meaning and strengthens the will to live, allowing you to transcend the immediate horror.
So even when stripped of literally everything else, possessions, status, freedom, health, loved ones,
that ultimate freedom remained. The freedom to choose your stance, your attitude towards your circumstances.
that really brings the inner fortress concept into sharp, devastating focus. Frankl's ability and the ability of those he observes who survived internally to maintain that purpose, that meaning, despite having zero external control.
It perfectly embodies that unbreachable inner sanctuary Epictetus described.
So this raises a really important question for us today, doesn't it? Frankl's insights were forged in absolute extremity. How do we apply this to our own lives, which are, thankfully, far less horrific?
I think Frankl's work offers this profound affirmation for all of us. It confirms our uniquely human capacity for what he called self-transcendence.
Self-transcendence.
Yes, our ability to reach beyond ourselves, to freely choose our attitude, to find meaning by connecting to something other than just our own immediate needs or feelings. Whether that's caring for another person, pursuing a value, completing a task.
Like the prisoners holding onto a memory or a manuscript, or even just the beauty of nature.
Exactly. Those external anchors for meaning, freely chosen and cultivated internally, became lifelines. He argued this capacity to direct ourselves towards something or someone outside ourselves strengthens love, purpose, and ultimately meaning itself. It proves that our greatest freedom really does lie in that inner response. It's the ultimate defense of the inner fortress against any external onslaught, however severe.
Wow. Okay, let's just pause and really absorb that. In Viktor Frankl's lived, brutal experience, we see this Stoic discipline of will, not just as some nice philosophical idea, but as a vital, potent, utterly essential survival mechanism. It proves, maybe more powerfully than anything else could, that our greatest freedom, our ultimate refuge, lies in that inner response, in our prohairesis, our unyielding power to choose our attitude and find meaning no matter what.
Frankl's legacy is, in many ways, the ultimate, undeniable validation of the power of the inner fortress. #outro.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the discipline of will. The third, the final, and as Epictetus saw it, the absolute highest of the Stoic practices.
It really ties everything together.
It does. We journey through that foundational dichotomy of control, learning to really sort out what's ours to manage and what simply isn't.
That crucial first step.
We explored how to face adversity, not just gritting our teeth, but seeing it as fuel for growth, turning setbacks into training grounds.
Seneca's wrestler.
Exactly. We unpacked how to master our inner emotional world, not by squashing feelings, but by rationally examining our judgments, our assent, and cultivating those healthy eupathii.
Replacing the irrational with the rational.
We looked at living in harmony with the grand order of nature, with our own rational and social human nature, understanding our roles, and even, for some Stoics, connecting with the sense of the divine.
Seeing ourselves as part of a bigger picture.
We definitely felt the urgency of now, didn't we? That call to stop deferring life and make the most of the present moment, reminded by our own mortality.
Making time count.
And finally, those powerful, almost miraculous echoes in the 20th century with Viktor Frankl. Seeing Stoic resilience proven in the most extreme conditions imaginable, finding meaning even in despair.
A testament to the human spirit's inner freedom.
So this discipline of will, as we've hopefully shown, it's absolutely not about passive acceptance or some kind of cold, indifferent detachment.
Far from it.
It's an active, rational, ongoing effort, a continuous cultivation of our inner world aimed at making it truly impervious to external chaos, to the whims of fortune.
It's about clearly recognizing what is genuinely ours, to command our judgments, our attitudes, our will, and then diligently, fiercely safeguarding that sacred inner space.
That inner fortress.
So the big question remains, what does this all mean for you listening right now today? Well, the Stoics saw the ideal wise person, the sage, less as a destination you finally arrive at and more as a direction, a standard you constantly strive towards every single day.
A lifelong practice.
Exactly. Which suggests that true strength isn't about suddenly being unfeeling or having perfectly conquered every negative emotion. It's about the continuous effort, the daily, even moment-by-moment practice.
Of aligning our will with reason, with nature, with reality.
Right. Transforming every challenge, every annoyance, every interaction, every impression into a fresh opportunity to strengthen that inner fortress, brick by rational brick.
So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with.
Consider this. What single, small, seemingly uncontrollable event or frustration could you face today? Maybe something minor, maybe something that usually pushes your buttons. And could you consciously reframe it? Actively apply the dichotomy of control. Pause. Choose your attitude. Just as a small act of practice to begin or to deepen this vital fortification of your inner self, where can you exercise that ultimate freedom today?
That's a great challenge. Take that to heart as you go about your day. Reflect on your own experiences and think about how you can actively apply these timeless lessons. How can you build and fortify your own unbreachable inner fortress? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
We'll see you next time on the Deep Dive.